Okay, we're going to call to order the Wednesday, March 13th, 2019 Board of Education special meeting and ask Ms. Rudley to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we have some prouds this evening that we usually start with, so bear with me while I put my glasses on. So our New York State Education Department Commissioner and Regent Johnson visited Park School last Friday and met with OHS students, and I have to say I was in attendance, and the students were just fantastic. They did such a wonderful job. OHS's production of Chicago will take place March 28th, 29th, and 30th at 7 p.m. in the OHS auditorium, and the students did mention that at their meeting with Regent Johnson, and I could say they said, get tickets, go, 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 go. So make sure you go. OHS student Emma Montgomery attended the Regeneron finalist competition. Our Save the Date Crazy Hot Kickball will take place on May 9th. Aubrey Griffin has been selected Miss New York Basketball by the Basketball Coaches Association of New York. That's pretty amazing, wow. Our Destination Imagination District Showcase was held last weekend. Thank you to all the volunteers who helped. The regional tournament will take place this weekend, March 16th at AMD from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Our OHS students attended the Model UN in the United Nations General Assembly. Jada Strapoli was our Con Ed Scholar Athlete of the Week. OHS Marching Band performed at the Tarrytown Sleepy Hollow St. Patrick's Day Parade, and our OHS student Joe Nolan is the 2019 All-Section Wrestler. So a round of applause for all of those. And I know we have another presentation, which I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Sanchez for that.
All right, so we're going to transition from a number of prouds to one more proud, where we're going to get an opportunity to acknowledge 4 outstanding student athletes. I'd like to recognize our track team: Brandon Racer, Noah Jefferson, Patrick Petlock, and Joshua Harley. I should just say that again and get a round of applause. You guys just do this. There are 4 members of the state championship 4x200 relay team. I don't know if you've seen them on Twitter or anywhere else. It's like, I don't even, it's like the Road Runners, guys. So Brandon, Noah, Thomas, and Joshua came together for the first time at the beginning of 2019 indoor track season and broke the Ossining High School 4x200 relay at the Westchester County Championships in January. They have gone on to break their own school record 4 more times. The new OHS record now stands at 1 minute? Yes. 1 minute, 29.16, or 0.16, excuse me. A time run in the finals at the New York State Championship. This indoor season, the relay team has been named All-League, All-County First Team, Class A champions, All-Section, and All-State. This past weekend, they finished 20th at the New Balance Nationals. Additionally, their new school record ranks them 4th all-time in Westchester County. Wow. In addition, individually, Brandon was also named All-League in the 55 and 300, All-County third team in the 300 dash, and was Class A finalist in the 55 dash and the 300 dash. Noah was named All-League in the 55 and 300 and was a Class A finalist in the 300 dash. This is quite the accomplishment for Ossining and by these 4 student athletes. I also would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge their coach, Randy Hill, for his work and dedication as well. I think Mitch Sturgis has a role in this as well, correct? Oh, and there she is. Okay, there we go. Do you want to say something?
I want to really thank them for the growth that I've seen over the years. We still have 3 of them still have 1 more season. We're just starting, so there's going to be continual growth, and hopefully more records and more state meets will come about. What we were able to do is the state sent certificates and letters congratulating them on their accomplishments. So there's participation in the state, and also, I mean, I'm not going to read it, but it's from the president of the New York Public School Association, congratulating them on their accomplishment. So they have a letter and also a certificate to take home with them as well as their medals.
Wow.
So.
So we also have certificates for each of our students. Just notes, Outstanding Achievement Award for Excellence in Track, first place in New York State 4x200 meter relay for each of our students. So Joshua. Congratulations. Thomas. Noah. And Brandon. Thank you. So please join me one more time in giving our student athletes a round of applause. Congratulations, guys. Congratulations.
Awesome.
Yeah, they really can't sneak up on you with those
No.
medals on, right?
No, they cannot. That's an amazing feat.
Ms. Murray, if you can indulge me just for a second on
Yes, I
some
will.
of the prouds.
Absolutely.
There's 2 things I just wanted to highlight. We kind of went through the prouds sort of quickly, but Emma Montgomery is one of 40 finalists in the nation that was in Washington this week for the Regeneron thing. I think that's just an amazing accomplishment, top 40 in the country. The other piece is that, you know, through all the people I know in the state and region, you hear about great things that happen in our schools, but I can't tell you, my phone was ringing off the hook with the visit that we had with the commissioner in terms of the way our pre-K program presented itself and the way our high school students and staff presented themselves. We're a model school district at the end of the day. The state recognizes it, and I just have to give kudos to our superintendent who always just represents us so well in our cabinet. It was noticed, it's recognized, and certainly appreciated. So thank you for a wonderful visit.
And
So
the
if I can
kids-
just
the
add-
kids there were fantastic.
Yeah, so I just thank you for your remarks, Mr. Snecker, but we have a number of colleagues. My only, I think the only fault in the visit is that they couldn't have seen all our schools, because we acknowledge that there's great things, obviously, they had an opportunity to see at Park School and some representation of our high school, and there's much more for them to potentially have seen and much to be proud of. But certainly, there's great things happening at Brookside, Claremont, Roosevelt, and the middle school that I think potentially for another trip. So just want to thank everyone for their hard work, our teachers, our administrators for, making us proud, and for the support of our community as well. We should be really proud of what's happening in Austin.
It should be. Absolutely. Work session.
Yeah, so if it's okay, I'm going to ask the board to take action if we can
Move up
take.
7-4?
Well, you're going to need to do 7-1 and then
Okay.
7-4.
Okay. So I will take a motion for 7-1.
So moved.
Second.
7-1 is a resolution regarding administrative staff resignation. And I will take a motion for 7-4.
So moved.
7-4 is a resolution regarding administrative staff appointments. Any discussion? All those in favor?
We just have to vote on the first one, right?
7-1 and 7-4 together. Yep.
Okay. I think we do 7-1 first.
Do
doesn't it?
7-1
have to do
first.
All right, so we'll
Yeah.
do 7-1. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? And any further discussion on 7-4? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? 6-0. That's Dr. Sanchez.
So there's a lot of family members in the audience, and we're actually very excited for this moment because we're very fortunate to have appointed 2 outstanding leaders to principal positions and very important positions at Claremont School and at Ann M. Dorner Middle School. Ironically, they work together. And so we're splitting up an outstanding team. But it also just speaks in general to the talent that exists within our system and within our school district. First, I just want to congratulate Kate Matthews on being appointed our next Ann M. Dorner Middle School principal. These are things I wrote before in a letter to the community, but she began her career in Austining in 2005. She's been the Director of Cultural Arts, Ann M. Dorner Assistant Principal, and Claremont Principal. And I can say without a doubt, while the roles have been different, they've all been done with outstanding passion and dedication to the students, to our community, and we're so very excited to have you starting the role in July 1st. And then this is where we had both tears and then excitement at Claremont School, because I had to announce Kate, and then I said, well, wait a minute, I'm not done. I'm very pleased to announce that Frazine Shamsi will be our next Claremont School principal. She began her career in 1994, is currently served as the assistant principal at Claremont School. She's also been assistant principal at Brookside School. And has had a key role in our summer programs. And I can attest, having gone through the administrative program with Frazine as well. So we have history together as long as, and I can share with you that throughout, in a similar way, Frazine has a clear dedication and passion to our school district. What Frazine touches, along with what Kate touches, turns to gold. They do things well and with real clear focus on our children. So we're very, very fortunate and lucky to have them both taking on these new roles. So please join me in congratulating both Kate Matthews and Frazine Shamsi.
Congratulations.
So I don't know if either one of you want to say anything. I'll just open it up.
I was going
I
to say,
did tell him
Mike
I'd
is
open
right
the
here.
mic, so yeah,
Yes.
sure, wherever.
She did tell me that. Thank you so much. That was really such nice words. Thank you so much to Dr. Sanchez, Ms. Sipos, the entire team. Thank you so much to the board. I really appreciate this opportunity. I just want to thank my family, so my husband and my son are here. When I started in the district, Xander was an infant, so it's exciting that he's here today. My daughter couldn't be here; she's in college, but she's cheering me on from afar. But I just wanted to say this is so bittersweet because I have really loved being at Claremont School. The staff is amazing. Our students and parents are amazing. So I'm excited to get to work with the families again. And working with Rosine has been really just such a wonderful experience. I just want to say quickly, though, that while I'm very excited, I'm also a little nervous about stepping into some really big shoes. And I just have to thank my mentor and dear, dear friend, Regina Celio. After working with her for 4 years and having her on speed dial all these past 6 years, I've just learned so much from her, grown to know what it's like to be a leader through her, and I'm just so excited to take over, and I hope I do a fraction of the job that you did, and people will be proud. So thank you, Regina. Thanks.
So I'm going to sound very similar to Kate. First, I want to thank Dr. Sanchez, Carrie Ann, Brian, the entire board. I'm really proud and so humbled by your confidence in me and this invitation to take on the principalship. So I actually started when I was an infant. 25 years ago, I met Dr. Paul Freed, accidentally at a job fair, and he brought me to Ossining. And so for 25 years, I have really thought of Ossining as my second home. And I'm really happy that I'm going to still remain here. I would also like to thank Saf and Zara, especially for Zara to be here, and she's an hour past her bedtime right now. But I would like to take a moment and just thank my family. So my parents are here tonight, and I couldn't help but thank them. 40 years ago, they left Zambia, Africa, to come to America specifically to give my brother and I a better life and more importantly, a better education. And growing up, we heard a lot about what a good education would do for us, and that was their focus, from where they chose to send us to school to how they supported us through our many activities. And so standing here tonight, I just feel proud and honored that they were my parents and of what they instilled in me and how education has become my lifelong passion. So I thank them. I've also been fortunate to have many mentors here at Ossining. I've been fortunate to work with Dr. White and Felix Flores and Ann Deely, and lastly with Kate Matthews. And each and every principal that I've ever worked with, I've picked up a little bit of strength from them along the way. And so I hope that I can add all of these things that I've learned into my principalship here at Claremont. So I'd like to thank all of them. And lastly, having worked at Claremont for the past 6 years, I'm really excited to lead a group of incredibly amazing teachers and staff and the most amazing students that are entering and the ones that will be remaining with me next year. So I'm very excited about this, and thank you again. Thank you.
Well, congratulations to you both on your future endeavors. I know that you'll do a great job. We have nothing but a lot of faith in you, and the kids have really already have been successful under the leadership that you've provided at Claremont. So I'm sure that will continue to be the case at AMD now in Claremont. So, and thank you for kind of taking that on. I mean, when you move around like that, sometimes you're not really sure what's coming, right? And these are really big steps that you're taking, and thank you for doing that for our students. Okay. I'm going to turn it back to you.
So this is where the families are like, should we stay? Should we go? Should we stay?
Yeah.
Should we go? So I'm going to give the family members just an opportunity if you want to just take some pictures. You can certainly do that, but you don't have to stay for the entire. Although it's an exciting agenda.
Yeah,
So, just want to add. So
It's budget.
so let's give our family members just an opportunity, and we have congratulations.
Exciting little pictures they're taking.
Yeah, yeah. Small little paparazzi.
Yeah, it's like a little paparazzi, off-camera paparazzi. So it looks like it is a good time to move into our
Yep,
work session.
sure. All right, so I'm going to introduce, we have a number of very important items, I would say, on our agenda. First is a program highlight shared with the board and the community that we periodically just try to highlight an aspect of our programs periodically, just to share some of the great things that are happening within the context of our each of our schools. Tonight we have our middle school principal, Miss Regina Celio. Maybe we need a moment. She's going to give us a quick highlight. In the beginning of the year, we started advisories. Regina was just going to give a quick highlight in terms of how things are going and from her perspective.
I get very emotional over advisory. I promised Ray I'd always be serious every time I get up here from this point on, so here goes. Thank you for this opportunity to share about a program that I'm just so very proud of, our advisory program. We began this year, and I just want to give you an overview of what advisory means and what it looks like at Annam Dorner Middle School. So the success of an advisory program is really about strengthening the connections that students have with their school, specifically our middle school. Thinking about providing a different level of academic and social emotional mentorship and support to our students, and also creating that personalization that's so vitally important to the success of an overall school environment, and allow students to see themselves within a small group in a large school building. An advisory also focuses on a student feeling as if they're well known to one adult, and that's their advisor, and that's the ultimate goal of an advisory, to guarantee that every student belongs to a group, because it's the hard part of secondary education sometimes is that students go through schooling and there are groups of students that automatically cluster, and they may not feel always like they're a part of a group. So this gives them an opportunity to see themselves within a peer group, as well as seeing different ways that they could plan for their own academic and social options that are so much a part of everyday life at a middle school. An important part of an advisory, and we're working toward this, is to promote that coordination and that communication between home and school, and for students to really talk about what are some of the things that are important to them, and to practice that a little bit at school so that hopefully that becomes an easier process for them at home too. And I quote Jesse in 7th grade, and he said, "It's fun to take a break and to talk." And I forgot to quote Litzy in 8th grade, advisory is mind-opening. What does our advisory look like? Well, we decided to have grade level groups, to divide our students by grade level. Some schools look at advisories and have multi-grade, but we decided to have the same grade level within a group. Our groups range from 10 to 12 students. We do have one group that's at 13, and that just happened because a teacher did ask specifically for this one student and we did move one student. We meet every Wednesday. It's a 21-minute period, and it's scheduled between period 1 and 2. Actually, there's a story with this. We had a delayed opening on one Wednesday, and we were welcoming the students into our CAF in the morning, as we always do during inclement weather. So we made that announcement in the morning because it was a delayed opening, already shortened periods, that we were not going to be able to have advisory. And throughout the room, all you heard was no. I think that's really a best testament, and I know I seemed a little emotional coming up here. It did bring tears to my eyes because I was so proud to hear them say that, and that was across the board, 7th, 8th, and 6th. The groups also work together. They get to know each other. So depending on the activities, they're getting to know a whole group, different group of students, and we did mix the groups. Each group is heterogeneous, but heterogeneous also by friendship. So you don't see friends together, you see students on the same grade level making new friends. And we're seeing that as a positive impact. So we talk about a variety of topics, and it really is student-generated, depending on what their preference is, what their goal is. But we talk a lot about school goals. We talk a lot about what's happening in life for them at AMD and in life for them outside of AMD. We speak about social issues. My group has touched on music. We've touched on race. We've touched on what they wanted to talk about, in that I have an 8th grade group. They want to talk about transition to the high school. And today's advisory, they were very thankful that we've had that opportunity because they're in the midst of scheduling themselves for Ossining High School this week. So they felt like they were extra prepared, and they have a venue where they could ask questions about that. And it's really any topic that we feel could support the students. Christian in 7th grade quoted, "It's great to express your feelings in another way." Some facts: we have 3 groups, obviously, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and we divided each of those grade levels, so we have 36 groups in 6th grade and 32 in each of 7th and 8th. Our locations are all over the building. We're in classrooms, offices. One group preferred to be on one of the landings on the double staircase. Teachers bring in blankets, mats, wherever they feel comfortable. Teachers are looking forward to good weather to maybe take their advisory group outside. So, we used every possible nook and corner of the middle school in order to keep those sizes 10 to 12. An advisory, by theory, usually says about 15 in a group, but we wanted to really keep our groups small. Ashley in 8th grade said, "I like advisory because you get to talk to other people you don't usually talk to." This particular advisory group took some time. They wanted to focus on community service around Valentine's Day, and this was generated by the students in this group, and they happened to write Valentine Day cards to little children in children's hospitals across the nation, and the teacher who was the advisor found a website in order to do that. And they felt that their theme for that session was to make their world a better place, one Valentine at a time. Lexi in 8th grade quotes, "You can create different bonds with different people and get closer." This happens to be one of the best advisory groups. It's my group, and we're pretty happy. We love to be photographed at AMD, especially if Miss Marcato's around. She's great with that. Before I open it up to questions, we're in the learning stage still, and every week we learn more and more. One of the things we did was we gave ourselves the opportunity to take our group where they need to be. So we're not having this program directed where there's a syllabus where we go week by week. We really take it from where the students are within each of our groups. The teachers are sharing. We have a Google page where anybody could share any of the great activities that they're doing. So we're trying to share with each other, and we're learning with each other with this. And I really feel very proud of the fact that we did this. We work through this type of initiation of this important program, and we're working through it, and we're learning day by day. It is my hope that we continue with advisory always. Kate and I have already spoken about the power and the importance of it, and I know Kate's equally excited. So it's just an incredible program, and I wish I did it long, long, long ago, but we did it, and we're proud of it. So questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
It's not a hard question, I promise. The question is, I was just wondering if you could tell us a little bit about what the parents are told about advisory, if the advisors introduce themselves to the parents, if they kind of explain a little bit about it, and how the parents are kind of connected to that this process is actually happening.
And thank you for that question. It's the one area that's in the philosophy of advisory that I said we're working on, that communication piece. Initially, parents had, been communicated by me. We started later in the year, but we haven't done anything formally from each advisor to reach out to the parents. But parents know that advisory, I think more and more parents know it's become more and more important, because there are times when they'll call the school or we'll call the parents and say, well, can they meet with their advisor? So it's become a part of who we are, and which gives me the indication that students are going home and also talking a little bit about it. So we can definitely do more with the parent communication piece of that. But we began this, November. So, we're in our first several months.
Mm-hmm. And then my other question was, if a student makes a serious disclosure in advisory of a nature where a clinical staff member needs to get involved, is there a process in place?
Absolutely. Just like any other time during a school day, if a disclosure happens in a classroom, there's a protocol where teachers report that immediately to administration and to the support staff, and we have a process immediately in place. And that advisor needs to be critically important in that process too, because with an advisor, the real purpose is to have that level of trust. And that trust relationship will help that child process, what he or she disclosed with the support staff member, with the administrator, and ultimately with their parent.
And then I just wanted to close by saying that I think this is a really creative way to start addressing some of the social emotional needs, particularly in this age group, and I just commend everyone for putting this together. I think it's fantastic. And I hope that it can only grow and go into the high school and be even more amazing. So thank you.
I thank you for that comment, because we think that's very important. That connectedness, that personalization, that sometimes we as educators, we always feel like, well, we begin a class, we have the middle of the class, we have the end of the class, we have so much to address, and we don't want to miss any important part that could interrupt a child's, life, their progress. So this is a way to have that connection, because if you think about, our schools, we have our middle school that's a little less than 1,100 students. And when you think about that, and you think about, you can't have one counselor per student. But it just helps our support staff in further identifying needs and addressing the needs and continuing another layer of working collaboratively. So between the houses that we have, the structure of the houses, where a cohort of teachers serve a cohort of students, and in 7th and 8th grade over 2 years, coupled with working with counselors who loop and social workers who loop, and now advisory, it's just another layer of support that helps us to make sure we're keeping our finger on not only the pulse of a child, but the heart of a child.
Well, so that's interesting though. Do the advisories stay within the houses, or Can advisories move across the houses?
House teachers, for the most part, have house students, for the most part. We tried a couple of different ways with this, and we spoke with the faculty as last year as we were, talking about, how this was going to look. So naturally, house teachers did have that, but then we had other staff supporting the houses. And we included every single staff member, but we have a safeguard in the event that a person cannot be with their advisory group, if they're absent or, involved in something else. So we have people who are also parts of other advisories that we pull. Even our secretaries are willing, and also anybody who comes into our building, a substitute, we'll meet with them. We have planned activities that they could use for that day, so we just don't put anybody out there not knowing what to do with the group. If a colleague knows that they're not going to be there, sometimes they make an arrangement with another colleague. So it really has been something that, I think some people are learning how to embrace it, but we've embraced it. And I'm happy to say it's part of who we are. And, again, I do hope it continues.
Thank you.
Is the plan for the same teacher to go all 3 years with that student?
Right now, that's a decision I have to make with the faculty as we welcome a new group of sixth graders in next year, and with the hope that we continue the advisory, and it's our plan to. It's another way for sixth grade teachers to connect with them too, and not introduce another layer of an adult. But I want to review that with the faculty. Seventh and eighth grade, some teachers naturally loop. So we may keep some of that in place with the seventh going into eighth. But again, that's a decision I would like to be able to take time and work with the faculty on. What they would like to see.
Be curious to see down the road how many of these students come back in years and say, Miss Celio had such a profound effect through this advisory. So I think in a few years you'll see students coming back and telling that story, which will make this whole advisory story even better.
It's my hope.
You have that impactful teacher. You had one when you were a kid, a teacher, a coach, somebody. And so this sort of gives more people that opportunity to have that, more students. And I think this has really got the potential to change a lot of kids' futures. So I thank you for endeavoring to do this, doing it, and as always, doing it well.
Well, thank you. It's our hope for that because we have the good fortune of so many students coming back and wanting to see their teachers at AMD. And I know in all of our schools, we want to see if we could get that to even another level. Because, somebody was able to hear a student who maybe never felt like they were heard before. And we allow for students to still be those listeners in the group. I have one student who's a listener. And that's okay.
For now, they might not be a listener forever, so that's good. Good for you.
They're like me, very quiet, low-key.
Right.
Okay.
That's why we did put them with you.
I want to congratulate you on being the pioneer of advisory, and thank you for taking it on. And it is about being fluid and flexible and going where the students and faculty need to go, and thank you for that. And I see it as also continuing our efforts for inclusivity and leveling the playing field with students to get to know each other that otherwise wouldn't be together. So thank you for that. And I just look forward to hearing more great things, and then when we begin it in the high school, and they'll be all ready, the eighth graders will be ready to go. So thank you for all your hard work and great work.
Well, thank you.
Congratulations on pioneering this. I wish I had it when you had me, but I think it will be good for the students. I want to know if there's like some type of incoming expectation? Like, you know, sometimes when you're starting something, you can write, my expectation of this program is X, Y, and Z, and maybe there can be some outgoing evaluation or I guess reflection, so that way either for the students themselves to see how they have evolved either in that year or from 6th to 8th. And I think it would also be good for the advisors to be able to see that, like, this is what they thought they were going to get and this is, you know, what they actually got at the end. So I don't know if it's something.
Well, we're in the
doing.
process of looking at a student survey. As well as at the close of this school year, we're going to do another panoramic survey. We began the year with a survey which addresses student connectedness to see if we've made gains and if students will also comment on that. You know, so we're hoping to see the benefits of that, and I think it's important annually to survey and listen to our students, but an important part of the weekly advisory is to do that daily check-in with our advisees, to say, how is it going, what's going on, what are the things you want to talk about. So it gives them ownership over this 21-minute period. And they won't comment, it's so quick. One student in my group today said, you know, Ms. Celia, you only took 2 minutes off the other classes. Can't you take more off? Now, I'm not sure what his deep purpose was in that, but, you know, they do all comment that it's so quick. And we were very proud also, if I could comment at the beginning, to organize all those kids to get to the right place the first day they did. And it took a lot of effort on the administrative team, Ellie and Dulce and Craig, in the organization of this and the teachers and making sure all the kids knew where they were going. So it was, you know, a successful start from minute one. But we will definitely, you know, look at those surveys. We're looking forward to hearing from the student voices, because within those surveys, we want to see what else they'd like to have addressed. But, you know, from a 6th grade level to a 7th to an 8th, those sometimes are very different, you know, topics. But we want to hear from them overall what they think and what could make it better.
My colleagues have covered a lot. I just have to say this was one of the presentations I really anticipated as I looked at the school year, and you did a great job with it, and I really commend you and everyone at the middle school that really worked hard to make this happen and come to be. I could say a lot, but I think one of the things that I just wanted to focus in, and I saw in your quotes, was just the students and the thought you put into how you made the groups up and how you mix them and seeing them connect to other students that they normally wouldn't to. When we see students speaking that way, it really is, it's part of the core mission of Ossining, right? And it's just great to see us intentionally making the time, putting the thought into it to make it to happen. So there's a lot more I could say, but thank you for a great presentation. It was really phenomenal.
Well, thank you. At the beginning of the year, when we first gave the kids the group, there was a lot of reaction because there was a couple of day wait before we went actually into the advisory. And, you know, we got a couple of calls about not being with friends, and we explained, just let it happen. And we haven't heard anything since. The 8th grade group went on a trip to the city shortly after we started the advisory, and we kept them in their advisory groups, which they had a little, you know, they had some thoughts on it. But they were fine when they boarded the bus, and they were happier when they came back saying what a great trip it was. So just trying to get that sense of culture too, and then chaperones were assigned to those advisory groups. But we just wanted to take it the next step, and we actually got away with it with the 8th grade. Not without a lot of complaints, but they did it, and they liked it. So it just connected them with their advisory group on another level, to be on a bus together, to be in groups together. It was neat.
I bet they look back now, right, on that trip, and they're looking at it today saying, wow, you know, what a different experience what a different relationship too from then till now, and how it grows, you know. I think it's so important for them to have that. And so this was a great presentation, so thank you.
Thank you.
Everything.
just want to thank Regina for sharing and providing us some insights as to what's happening, and for the staff for the work that they've done to help to implement this and move forward. And certainly there's points of reflection as we proceed and go into the year. But thank you, Regina, for your presentation. Thank you, and for your leadership. All right, so we're going to switch gears. So like I said, there was a lot of important discussions taking place. I'm going to do a quick update. We've been working with an outside group to bring in and provide services within the context of our schools. And one of the groups that we want to build a partnership with the Boys and Girls Club of New Rochelle to provide additional services within the context of our elementary schools in this case. So it's a face that I think we're all familiar with. So I'm going to invite LaTanya Russell-Humes to come on up. She's the executive director. Yeah, you can do it right here. And basically what we're seeking is to provide this opportunity to our families through this partnership. We wanted to give you a little bit of some of the highlights and what they might bring to us as in this partnership.
So thank you and good evening. It is a bit weird to be here as a professional as opposed to being a resident and a parent, so bear with me. For those of you who do not know me, my name is LaTanya Russell-Humes. I am the Executive Director, CEO of the Boys and Girls Club of New Rochelle. I also am the proud mom of a Ossining High School 10th grader and a 2012 graduate. I think it was 2012, so. I'm old, she's not. But I'd like to, as Ray said, I'd like to thank Ray and Megan. This conversation, I believe, started last summer in the basement of Star Bethlehem Church as we were walking out from an MBK steering committee meeting. And Ray sort of asked, where are you now? Because I'm a bit of a tumbleweed. I mentioned that to him, and you probably know that he has a child in the public schools in New Rochelle. And it was like a light bulb went off, and I thought, okay, oh my goodness, what does that mean? But I'm actually really happy to be here. I will admit that notion of coming to Ossining was not necessarily one that came from my head. But as a person who has been either working or living in Ossining for 20 years now, and when I worked here, I ran programs, one in particular at Park School, Project Love. And I know what a void there has been since Project Love left. And one of our board members was one of my teens, so there we go. We're excited. My board is actually very excited. We literally just had a meeting on Monday to confirm that they were excited because I was coming to this meeting. And so is my staff. So I've had two staff members, two particular key staff members came with me to meet with Ray, Carrie Ann, and Megan. Megan came down, did a tour of a few of our club sites. And then we came up and with Alita and Megan did a walkthrough at Claremont School. So the Boys and Girls Club of New Rochelle, we've been around a mighty long time. Our mission is exactly, what I think, even though the words may not say the same thing as the mission of the Ossining schools, but they certainly align. Our goal is that every child who walks through what we call the blue doors walks out empowered and enabled and to fulfill their potential. We are located now, obviously we're the Boys and Girls Club of, how do I do this? Okay, there we go. We're the Boys and Girls Club of New Rochelle, but we are also located in Mamaroneck and Larchmont schools as well. The primary players of our team that would be in contact here or in Ossining would be myself, my Director of Operations, Nate Adams, Nancy Seha, who oversees all of our school-based programs, but Sally Espijon is our Director of Education, and William Iannuzzi is our Director of Programs. And we sort of separate education programs purposely. Boys and Girls Club of America has a number of curriculum, and we follow most of them, but we see education as something separate that's really important to us, that young people have achieved academically. So we've purposely sort of staffed someone to focus on that solely, while the other person can focus on all the other areas that we cover. We are 90 years old this year, and it is an awesome responsibility to be in charge of an organization that is so well loved in a community. We have 2 what we call clubhouses, so those are our own individual buildings that we serve kids K through 12 in New Rochelle. And then we also have 8 school sites between Mamaroneck, Larchmont, and New Rochelle. Last year, we were approached by the PTA of New Rochelle to acquire all of their what they call electives programs. And essentially what that is, you know, a parent may not necessarily need day-to-day after-school care for the 3 to 3.5 hours that we provided, but they definitely want their kids to be engaged in something stimulating, exciting, and enriching. The PTA had been doing that for quite a number of years, found themselves in a position that they were unable to continue to do so, and we acquired 2 sites for that program. When we entered Larchmont, they asked us to take over those programs for all 4 of their schools. So I started as executive director 3 years ago. 3 years ago, we served approximately 1,400 kids. Last year, we served over 3,600 kids. And we are quite on our way to serving about 4,000 this school year. So our kids run the gamut. I'm very proud of the fact that for those of you who don't know New Rochelle, it's easy, you know, you've got every socioeconomic status you can think of in that one community, and we serve every single one of them. From the north end to the south end. It's quite exciting. We bring kids together. We talked about, Ms. Celia just talked about bringing kids together who might not otherwise have an opportunity to communicate. We have been doing that now, especially since we've been in the schools for over 20 years. And some would argue we've been doing that our entire 90-year history. We've had wonderful alum. They're school principals in New Rochelle were once club kids. Elected officials in New Rochelle were once club kids. And we've also got some, you know, actors and athletes and all of those folks. And we're lucky that all of them stay very connected to the club and support the work that we do. We provide programming in 5 areas: education, leadership and service, the arts, health and wellness, sports and recreation. And most folks, when they think about Boys and Girls Clubs, they think of sports and recreation. They think of basketball teams. Denzel Washington always talks about being on the basketball team at the Boys and Girls Club of Mount Vernon. And apparently there's a rivalry because they used to beat the Boys and Girls Club in New Rochelle pretty badly. But in each one of those areas, what we allow the individual club sites to do is to sort of personalize. We are very much member-led. Our kids are members. They pay a membership fee because they have to have ownership in the club. They set the rules in the club. They have leadership, kid leadership within the club itself that really dictate how we operate. So in education, we have what we call Power Hour, traditional homework help. We do a lot of DIY STEM programming. We use the curriculum that is designed by the Boys and Girls Club of America, and we purchase the DIY STEM kits through them. Our leadership and service program that would be applicable to Ossining would be our Torch Club. Our Torch Club is a leadership program that is designed to empower young people, teach them self-advocacy, and encourage them to be leaders within their community. It is really designed for middle school, but about 2 years ago, the team and I decided that we wanted to begin developing those skills in our kids as young as 3rd grade. So we have a modified version of it for elementary school students. They have a full-fledged experience when they hit middle school, and then the progression in high school is called the Keystone Club, which is actually an internationally recognized program. We have kids from the Boys and Girls of New Rochelle who have been on the national planning committees for those international conferences, and we send a contingent of young people to our national conferences every year, where they get to interact with well over 4,000 kids from clubs all around the world. Boys and Girls Clubs of America, each of us is independent. We each have our own governing body. We are governed by a board of directors. We raise our own funds. But the affiliation with Boys and Girls Club of America allows us the opportunity to take advantage of national strategic partnerships. So that really is, those are relationships we use to leverage for local programming. So we have a really rich partnership with PepsiCo. We have a very strong partnership with Morgan Stanley. We do programming with Planet Fitness. We do some programming with we have a football team, the New Rochelle Huguenot Elite, and we've actually gone to national championships down in Florida. But we have been able to leverage a partnership with the NFL and have a personal relationship with our kids between us, the Jets, and the Giants. So with that, all of those opportunities then will also be afforded to the kids who participate in our programmings here in Ossining. We do the arts. So last year, three of our sites actually put on really, I have to say, I was a bit surprised at the quality of the plays. We did The Wiz at New Rochelle High School, our Remington Clubhouse. Our Davis School site did an adaptation of Annie that was performed throughout the New Rochelle community a number of times, more times than we had anticipated because of the wonderful response we received. And we also do a community, a Boys and Girls Club-wide talent show at the end of each year where every club site actually participates. We have partnerships with the local arts council as well as the Westchester Arts Council, and we have other artists that come in and do visual art work with our kids, as well as our partnership with the Pelham Picture House. Our health and wellness includes gender-based programs, Smart Girls and Passport to Manhood. Both of those programs are for kids grades 3 and up. And it is adapted, according to age level, but the idea is self-empowerment and positive self-esteem. And we really do allow the kids to sort of address image issues and all of those issues that are very particular to one's gender. Our Smart Moves program is also sort of this place for social emotional learning development. It's a curriculum that actually has been recognized as a promising practice. And we recently received a nice grant from a local foundation to increase the number of young people that we had participated in that program. So we went from serving about 100 kids to 400 kids are participating in that program across all of our sites. And our Healthy Habits program is exactly what it says. It's about helping young people make healthy nutritional choices. Both of our club's houses have gardens, and during gardening season, they use the produce from those gardens. They learn how to prepare them. One of our gardens actually produced about 2,500 pounds of produce a couple of years ago that were both consumed by the kids and also shared with the local pantry. And then our sports and recreation. We have, like I said, we have an organized football program as well as organized basketball, but our day-to-day programming includes triple play, and the triple being mind, body, and soul. So what we're proposing here in Ossining is, and Megan reminded me of something that I'd forgotten about, probably a Freudian slip, but we propose to serve, at least to start with, at least 50 kids and possibly as many as 75. We certainly would welcome more than that, but 50 kids makes it sensible in terms of the startup costs and the startup requirements that are needed to get staffing. We'd need at least 50 kids to start. As opposed to grades 1 through 5, we would serve K through 5. We, as a rule, do not serve pre-K students. There for a host of reasons, not the least of which is the licensing and ratios that would be required for a 4-year-old. The idea is to be centralized, and we thought while Park School might be, just in terms of location, a lot easier for folks, that's a building that's made for very, very little people. So Claremont School we thought would be the next best centrally located elementary school. We typically serve from 3 to 6, but in some of our sites where people where parents have asked for it, we're open as late as 7. We also have before care programming, and that is completely dictated by the school. And so, you know, for instance, and even in New Rochelle, at Davis, it starts at 7, at Ward, it starts at 7:30. So it really just depends on what the needs of that particular school community is. Our program fees are, there's a $50 annual fee, it's a membership fee, and then it's $250 a month. We do accept DSS, and we actually have a good number of families who participate in DSS subsidies that we accept. We also provide discounts for full payment and for sibling groups. And part-time kids who attend 3 days or less, pay a lesser rate. One of the things that Ray and I have talked about, and Megan, is a scholarship fund development, because obviously the goal is the kids who need us most need to be able to attend. And we are actually working on having that be something that we can start with. It may be small, but it is always a goal that if a family really needs us, that we find a way that we're able to serve them. So obviously some of the key issues or challenges that we know that we might face is making sure that there's access, equitable access to all kids, that there is actually adequate demand that justifies the starting of a new program. And staffing is always an ongoing issue in after-school programming. And I do want to talk a little bit about how our philosophy around staffing. So we hire, you know, the typical gamut in terms of after school. We hire high school students, we hire college students, we hire seniors, and we hire, you know, TAs and sort of everybody in between. But the other thing that we do is we invest considerably in staff development. All of our unit directors participate in national trainings. So, and we have about 40 hours of training that we conduct within the organization itself. We also participate in regional trainings, and we will support anyone who says, I found this training and I'd like to go there. We have a considerable budget for training, thankfully, and what we found is by making that investment in our staff, they tend to stay longer, and when they stay longer, our kids do better. So it really is not a matter of we sort of just take anyone. There is regular staff performance and evaluations. We do corrective actions if we have to. It's not meant to be punitive, but the idea is if staff is strong, our kids are stronger. And that should be it. Yeah, that's it. So I'll take any questions.
I am really, really excited about this. I can't tell you how many parents always approach me, there's nothing for our kids to do, there's nothing for the kids to do. And this is like, I'm going on like, there's something for the kids to do, okay, tonight. So I'm excited. Thank you. I don't know whose idea, I don't know if it was Mark, but who. It was Ray. Great job. Great job.
That's it.
Oh, I have some questions. Thank you very much for this presentation. I am also on the bandwagon of we definitely need additional enrichment after school. My son is at Claremont, and you know, I see the need there. I think third and fourth grade is a great place to start. I have a couple of questions from a risk management perspective, and if it's something, you know, Ray, that you wanted to answer afterwards, and we don't know the answers yet, then that's totally fine. So I'm wondering, does the Boys and Girls Club, do you maintain your own liability insurance?
Yes.
And you come in? Okay.
Yes, so if I can expound on that, our relationships with the other two school districts, we actually pay rent.
Okay.
And we anticipate that that would be the exact same scenario here. For that very reason, partly, is to make sure that there's a separation between the district and us, We are required, we are a nonprofit corporation. This is a business. And so we have all of the insurance liabilities that would be expected of anyone who operates with children. We do an annual analysis of our insurance coverage. And, as we get bigger and serve more kids, our insurance rates go up. But no, we certainly do have our own liability insurance. Our board has their liability insurance. All staff are screened, and we do a national screening. We don't just do a statewide screening.
I was going to actually ask you another question about that. Do you follow the same guidelines that the schools follow in terms of fingerprinting folks and running them through, the state database and the federal
So,
database?
and again, ours is national. We exceed the requirement for the OCFS school-age childcare licensing.
Great. Okay, wonderful, thank you.
Thank you for your presentation, and I remember being in Albany together and riding up on the, I think it was were we on a bus? I think we were on a bus a couple of times in the car.
A few years in a row.
A few years, yeah. And how much you advocated for children up there, and thank you for that work. And I'm not surprised that the program has tripled and that you've been able to expand it and expand the offerings. So thank you for that, and thank you for being here as a, Ossining community member with me. Thank you for that. Just wanted to talk a little bit about how special education students fit in and how you work with them in this context.
Yeah. So our position is every kid comes. We don't ask, we don't make a distinction between whether or not a kid has an IEP or doesn't. What we will ask, and you might be surprised at how hard this can be sometimes, is that if there is something that we should know, that parents let us know, and that they be a part of helping us understand how we can serve their child better. There have been, in my 3 years, I think we've had 2 instances where it really was not a good fit. We were not equipped, and the family, we'd been working with them and they completely understood, but our position is every kid comes until they can't come.
Great, thank you. Thank you.
Anyone, any other comments?
All righty. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I want to thank LaTanya for the presentation and everything that she did leading up to this. What I need from the board is we'd actually like to proceed, and we're moving forward with, getting 50, is it 50? You'll take 40. Involves starting and getting information out to families. The other part of it too is many families start planning ASAP for what they need to do for after-school care from year to year. And we want to make them aware of what would exist for the 1920 school year. And certainly along the same lines, which was really important for us, we internally want to think about, if making sure that all students find a way to participate that we see value in. And so I know that this is a little different than, clearly everything we'd want to be able to offer free, but this is not the case in this case. But the other part of it is we want to make sure that, we do find ways to get students to participate. And there are some things built into the Boys and Girls Club model, but also working with staff and saying who should be part of it and making sure that works. So just giving us the time is really the point of this.
I had a question. Is the plan to bus students from Roosevelt and
Correct.
Brookside over to Claremont? Okay.
This would be a stop for our students. So, so
Clarify, it's not just for Claremont students,
Okay.
it's for,
yeah, so the K to 5, it would be housed at Claremont School, but it'd be a K-5 model. Thank you for that. And the bus would take them there.
and then parents pick up, obviously.
Parents pick up, yeah.
So that's for the 3 to 6?
Correct.
The 3 p.m. to 6 p.m., so children would, whatever building they're at, if they're at Claremont, they stay, if they're not there,
Correct.
they get a bus there, parents pick them up. And then, I think you mentioned something about before So how does that, have you worked that out yet, or, I'm sorry.
No, we haven't.
Okay.
I was just asked if we would consider that because we do provide that in the other districts.
Okay.
And that's always going to be an option if that's a need. And I think one of the things that we were thinking, though, if that was a need, we do it at the child's home school as opposed, it makes no sense to do it at
Right.
one location.
So just as a reminder for the board and the community, we do work with a third party currently. So this would be working, instead of having two entities, basically just working with one. And Latanya has shared that there's potential of doing that. So we have the numbers. And it's a service to our family. Sometimes it's just the one-day drop-off they need or consistent early drop-off. So that's the flexibility and the service that we'd like to be able to provide our families on those days.
I'm sorry, the busing again. If there were families that only were going to do this for 2 days a week and then we're going to do it 3 days, drop off to a different location, do we know if the Department of Transportation would be able to accommodate the split of the stops?
No.
Okay, that's fine.
We just haven't asked the question. I'm assuming that we
Well,
probably
with
can.
the new software, with the new
but-
transportation software, apparently they,
be fine.
they know everything.
No, we haven't asked that direct question, but I would assume that there's a strong possibility that we'd be able to address that.
So the board would then need to give a green light to move forward, and those are the things that you would iron out and then present to the board what your final.
If there's any issues related to that, we would let you know.
Right.
If there's follow-up questions you have, we would make sure. And certainly, there has to be a formal agreement that we're
Right,
going to
and
need
then
to
so
have
what,
signed.
we
Yeah.
would have the
Yep.
opportunity to review the final agreement and then pass as a resolution.
As we noted, and
once-
and actually, Tanya made reference to it, there'd be some sort of rent, quote-unquote,
Yep.
that we have to finalize, but we want to just make sure, in an effort to be transparent with the board and the community, that this is something we would like to do. We think it's another layer of service to our families, and more specifically, a need that we see in our children. And in turn, this is, if you want it, you can participate, and if you don't, this isn't something anyone's making anyone do.
Right.
But certainly, it's also an opportunity for us to provide additional services to our children.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, this is a common type of thing that's done in many, many districts. I mean, Chappaqua has a relationship with vendors that do this. I mean, I think, Latonia, I really appreciate the presentation you get. I think you're a very robust program, comparatively speaking, So I look forward to working forward through this. I think it really makes, it's done in the early mornings, done in a lot of places. I know a lot of people that work in one district that drop off early to another district and do this. And it's a gamut, like I said, there's the Chappaqua, there's Peak Skills, there's lots of different districts that basically offer this service. I think the challenge for us has always been, having somebody in your community is usually, the easiest way to get this. I'm very grateful that the executive director of the Boys and Girls Club of New Rochelle lives in Austin, because this type of program is here. So I look forward to it.
I do as well, and
We
so.
can truly
always
say
so
we know
happy
where
to
you
have
live.
you
If
here.
there's an issue, we can find you.
So far, but that's about to change.
So
So-
it
It
seems like
we
we're
have a
okay?
green light, yeah,
Okay.
just
Green light.
pull, green
Green light.
light, green light, green light. We have
Doubly
6 green
green
lights.
over there?
Yep.
2 greens? Okay, all right, so thank you, Latanya.
Thank you.
So I would be remiss if I didn't thank Megan Massagiacomo for her efforts in getting this to this point. And I think there were collective ideas in terms of how do we start supporting our students in a variety of ways. So a lot of us participated. Alito did some work. Carrie Ann participated in meetings, and Megan formally went and actually saw the programs firsthand. So I want to thank them for all their effort and for getting us to this point in time.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Exciting.
So now we transition.
Or continue.
Yeah. Or continue, right, depending on how you look at it, right? We're transitioning to another program. And so we have our Director of Elementary Teaching and Learning, Ms. Carrie Ann Sipos, and Dr. Alm, our Director of Secondary Teaching and Learning, to talk to us about our math program adoption.
Good evening, everyone. So 2 years ago, we brought together all the brainy math leaders in the district. And we have been spending a great deal of time together, and I mean this, for 2 years. We have been meeting almost on a monthly basis, if not more than that. And together, we have become serious researchers. And after 2 years, we have learned a great deal about the world of mathematics and cutting-edge programs, and have put our heart and passion into bringing the best to our Ossining children. That was our goal. I want to thank personally Brian Alm. I want to thank Frazine Shamsi, Michelle Greer, Ellie Mercado, whom I really, collectively, we were an amazing team. I shared an email with them as we come to a place tonight that I am a different person because of our relationship, and I'm going to miss them. They're so much fun. So I wanted to just thank the brainy math leaders tonight, and I also have to recognize all the teachers. This was a process that included many, and our teachers took this pilot on like no other. I always expect awesome things from them, but they exceeded what we expected about their professionalism and their intentionality in helping us come up with the right program. I will say this, when you research the best programs, it's hard to make a decision. So there is all kinds of good data about all of these programs, and it was very hard for us to come to a decision. But the decision came from the relationship that we absolutely lived in between the elementary system and the secondary system. And we saw that as essential in the final decision. We learned so much from our middle school teachers about what we still had to do on an elementary level. So I just want to thank the teachers. I mean, really, we're just amazing. And alongside all these brainy math people, we have brainy math teachers whom helped us grow as well. So a big shout out to all the teachers and all the amazing leaders. So Brian and I are going to try to do as little talking as possible, but I wanted to give Brian a couple of minutes to say hello.
Thank you, Carrie Ann, and good evening, everybody. It's very important. I'd like to echo Carrie Ann's sentiments, of course, but it's also very important for us this evening. If there's a bias in the presentation, the bias is that we want to allow our colleagues brilliance and expertise to shine. In this team, we have a former math coach, a former math coordinator in a different district, and a math educator. They're all math educators. We're just lucky to have that level of expertise around math in our district. And it's also a rare opportunity that I'm able to throw a direct compliment at my colleague here, but Carrie Ann definitely led the charge on this one in coordinating the 5 of us and all of our work with the teachers, so I really want to honor that. It's been an intense, granular, and very detailed and thorough process. Here's a glimpse at our timeline. It doesn't really capture the intensity of it, but 2 years ago, we stood before you and let you know that we were going to embark on this journey. And we've extended the process throughout and done it right. So, we had a very intense review of our current program, which led to thorough research and school visitations around every program out there, frankly. We engaged in the pilots, which I just want to elaborate a little bit on Carrie Ann's point. That I don't want to speak for the teachers, they'll tell you, but I believe that they really did enjoy the pilot process, and just engaging in that activity has really elevated our practices and also built the anticipation for this decision and added to the already eagerness that our faculty have for taking on a new math program. So I too would like to thank their efforts. We engaged in the pilot programs this fall, and here we are. Here we are with our final reflections and our recommendations for you this evening. So, thank you. Farzine, take it away, Farzine.
Oh, I thought there are some pictures here.
This is my favorite slide.
Lots of animation.
Just a pretty slide. I have the important stuff to say. Okay, I am so excited to be here after 2 years. We've been waiting for this, and I'm really happy to share that I think we've really chosen 2 phenomenal programs. So as Carrie Ann said, this was a process that it did include many. And so my job is to just review this process with you. So as you know, as Carrie Ann stated, this began 2 years ago. And to remind ourselves of the why, we have to remember that the New York State Engage math units are no longer being revised. That's our why. And in all honesty, it wasn't really student-friendly. So earlier this school year, some phenomenal teachers, one is here in our audience, Ms. Carlson, thank you very much, took on the role of piloting 3 math programs that came highly rated. For elementary, they included Math in Focus, Investigations, and Envisions, and for middle school, Open Up Resource, Big Ideas, and Envisions as well. To be true to this pilot process, it was very important for us to ensure that all voices were heard, and that certain factors that are important to our teaching of mathematics were in the forefront of our thinking. We created a rubric to keep ourselves aligned, which focused on student engagement, alignment of standards, rigor, assessment, differentiation, and parental support was very important to us as well. We felt it was very important to find programs that would meet all students where they are and move them to a deeper understanding of mathematics and give them the ability to think critically, deeply, and apply their learning. As teachers piloted, administrators visited classrooms, we worked with students, we shared lessons with our faculty, and we shared our learning along the way, how it helped us grow. We valued all the information we received from parent surveys, student surveys. Trust me, students were very honest about what they thought about the pilot programs. And in many cases, they were actually very sad when we told them we had to stop piloting some of the programs. They enjoyed some of the math. We also had a very lengthy teacher survey. And then we met with pilot teachers personally and we discussed strengths and challenges. And in the end, we chose 2 strong programs that would support students to think critically about math, to make sense of problems, to reason abstractly and quantitatively, and to give students the ability to use models and construct viable arguments. These 2 programs are Math in Focus for elementary, also known as Singapore Math, and Envisions Math for the middle school. Ms. Greer will now share with you a little bit about Math in Focus, some detail about it, and then Ms. Mercado will follow and share some detail about Envisions.
Good evening, everyone. I too feel a little bit nostalgic about having to re-immerse myself in my life as principal and say goodbye temporarily to our math minds and working with math teachers all across the district. I'm here tonight to speak to you a little bit about Math in Focus. Math in Focus is the U.S. edition of a curriculum that was built on a framework that was developed by the Singapore Ministry of Education. The program, and they'll tell you in Singapore, there's no such thing as Singapore math. They simply draw on best practices from across the world, and they highlight problem solving as the focus of mathematical learning. So everything that we will experience in Math in Focus is viewed through the lens of problem solving. After conducting extensive research, as you heard, and a really significant pilot, it is no wonder why Math in Focus rose to the top among the programs that we piloted at the elementary level. I am going to share some highlights about Math in Focus, and with these highlights comes the feedback that we received and common themes that we heard as we engaged in conversations with our colleagues who piloted. So first things first, students found the program very rigorous. Rigor was one of our items on our rubric, and we wanted to make sure that that was a part of our selection. Math in Focus uses a concrete, pictorial, abstract learning progression that is embedded throughout its instruction. It teaches concepts using consistent models, started as early as pre-K and moving all the way through the program, which is a K through 8 program, but we definitely saw that K through 5. The students enjoyed the program, and if you're wondering why, the lower grades, some of the feedback we heard is that they love the colorful workbooks. The workbooks are beautiful. And with the workbooks at the lower level comes these big books that they can use to engage in math talk and have students share their thinking. So that was a big hit when we reviewed the feedback from the pilot teachers. The program integrates the use of visuals as well as hands-on games and activities, and they use this to develop conceptual understanding. That in itself, conceptual understanding, is one of the key tenets of Singapore Math and Math in Focus. The lessons created opportunities for students to work with partners and engage in conversations about mathematics. The program, in addition to the concrete, pictorial, abstract, consistently uses what they call a gradual release process, which starts with students' focused exploration around a problem and transition into guided learning facilitated by a teacher, and then they gradually release to independence, where students get to deepen their understanding and to tackle non-routine and routine problems. The lessons are structured and scaffolded to support conceptual understanding. Many of the teachers reported that the pacing was appropriate to build foundational knowledge as well as to provide differentiated supports. There is plenty of resources with this program, both in English and Spanish, to support teachers, students, and families. Online resources include student ebook, interactive activities, virtual manipulatives, which gives students easy access to tools that will enhance their understanding and their learning. The easy-to-use resource provides everything that teachers need to support students in developing foundational understanding, increasing their metacognition, and building mathematical habits of mind. Why wouldn't we recommend this program? But to be fair, there were some concerns from our teachers who piloted the program. Some teachers felt that the current edition of the program, which came with a hardcover textbook, a softcover workbook, additional practice worksheets, manipulatives, it comes with a lot of stuff, and they shared that sometimes students had problems navigating all those resources. And depending on the unit that a particular grade level or a teacher piloted, some teachers expressed that there was not enough hands-on activities in some of the units. The word problems they felt, because we're used to Engage New York, were placed at the end and not sufficiently integrated throughout the units. So those were some of the feedback that we heard that caused us to think a little bit about where we were headed. But there's good news. Very good news, exceptional news, exceeding all of our expectations. In the 2020 edition of the program, the publisher has eliminated the hardcover textbook, and now students will use a consumable write-in workbook. So that took care of all of the pieces, the moving pieces. So we were very happy about that. Hands-on games and activities, think problems, performance tasks, and even multidisciplinary STEAM projects are included in every unit. And now they're intentionally focusing on how teachers can explicitly support student-centered learning using these resources. So one of the feedback point was some teachers felt like the program wasn't telling them how to teach it. And they heard that, apparently, not just from us, but caused them to consider that in their newest revision. We're excited to recommend Math in Focus, the Singapore math program, for your consideration. It embodies all of the practices that have propelled the students in Singapore to be at the top of all the comparative studies. And we believe that Math in Focus will help our students to build conceptual understanding, to develop critical thinking skills, to improve their problem-solving abilities, and what I think is one of the most important things, to build a positive attitude towards mathematics. My colleague, Ms. Mercado, is going to share the highlights of Envisions.
Thank you, Michelle. Good evening, everyone. After going through the process, Envision is clearly the best choice for a middle school. It is a comprehensive mathematics program that is coherent, focused, and rigorous, has rigorous mathematics. It is aligned to the New York State standards through problem solving, interactive experiences, and visual learning. It provides personalized practice, built-in interventions, and differentiated content that deepen student content and improve academically. Some of the highlights of Envisions include all the materials and resources are being available in Spanish. There are ample of resources to support differentiated instruction, including scaffolds and modifications for English learners, and problem-solving strategy at varied levels of complexity. There's a range of questions going from multiple choice response to open-ended critical thinking questions. Mathematical practice are embedded in each lesson. The program includes problem solving, problems-based learning, visual learning, formative and summative assessment, differentiation, and many enrichment activities. There are engaging components that empower students to apply mathematical skills to real-world problems and challenges them to construct and critique mathematical arguments. There's a daily challenge with extend your thinking questions and the ability to create your own questions to promote deeper thinking about mathematical concepts. It also has the ability to link all the resources and assignments through our Google Classroom. And also it has a STEM project in each unit and every topic that can be utilized as a problem-based learning activity. Some of the concerns that some of the teachers who piloted the program had was that the workbook not always having enough space for the students to do all the work, so additional paper or the notebook is going to need it for some of the questions. And while the STEM project does include lots of hands-on activity, not every lesson has enough hands-on activities. Those were some of their concerns. Overall, the data indicates that teachers had a positive experience navigating the program and using all the support to meet the needs of all our learners. Family likes the resources, specifically the videos and the exemplars for all the problems in English and Spanish. Students had encouraging things to say about the program. They said some of the things that they shared were, I like how it showed me different ways to figure out problems and then it lets you try it. I like how there's a website for everything we were learning and we were able to get tools, videos, games, and the actual textbook. I like how interactive it was and how we were able to learn from our mistakes. After exploring Envisions, it is evident that this program has a tremendous amount of resources that will allow us to best meet the needs of all the community of Austining. I will now have Ms. Seipels continue to our next steps.
Oh, Lord, I left my glasses. So just to highlight both programs for me, I want to just put it in like just a simple statement about what I think both of them do for us. They honor constructivism. Both programs honor constructivism. There's a great deal of opportunities for our children in both programs to construct their own knowledge before going to the abstract. And that is something that we believe in wholeheartedly. But both programs are also centered around procedural efficiencies. And it's that balance that we think will prepare our children for the high school. When a system, an elementary system, has that balance, feeds into the middle school with that same balance, our kids will be prepared for what today continues to be some very complex math on the secondary level. So those two pieces meant a lot to us, and both programs really are about that. The constructivism and the procedural efficiency is very important. So what are our next steps? It includes ordering materials upon the approval by the Board of Education and getting ready for professional learning. We have great plans to do plans for professional learning this year so that our teachers can get their hands on their tools, their teaching tools, do some unpacking, but more importantly, do some thinking about math. Today I interviewed a consultant, a potential consultant, Brian and I, whom, I asked, what is this, what do you think? What's the big leap from leaving behind Engage New York to moving into a program like Math in Focus and Envisions? And we talked a lot about the need to see the big ideas in math and to understand the depth of conceptual work in math. So we need to do a little PD around that. It's going to be different than the Engage modules. So we're hoping to have things in the hands of our educators, hoping to do some PD in the spring, and then preparing for ongoing support for next year. Those are our next steps. Okay. And so we want to really say thank you to the Board of Education, because you've stayed very close to this process. And I am very honored by our relationship and the work we do for our kids. I appreciate your keen focus on our work and pushing us to do our best work as leaders, and for bringing up questions along the way and pushing us to consider some other things. I will say out loud, the Singapore math was a push. Did you consider this? And we added that to our list, and here we are today recommending Math in Focus Singapore math. So I just want to say thank you for all your support. It meant a whole lot to us, and we look forward to what's ahead. Look forward to developing our kids into really very strong math students.
Thank you. Questions? Comments?
So I just wanted to thank the math squad here. It's the math squad.
We need a costume, I think.
Or caps.
Yeah.
Caps, I'm excited about this. I'm excited because I remember when you guys initially started having this conversation, when I first came on, and one of the things I believe Greg had mentioned was, and a few had mentioned as well, is that there was a concern about the issue of not having a consistency as a parent, being able to follow the curriculum from grade to grade. So the fact that now it's focused, I'm excited to see what it's going to do. So thumbs up for me.
Going to me?
Yeah.
I really appreciate the effort that was put into the work done here. I think that it sounds like the process was almost as important as getting to the result, if not more. So I really appreciate that. I think we've come out of a cycle with things and changes from the state that really forced us to do things very quickly and not with a lot of care and thought, and I really appreciate the care and thought that went into this. We have an amazing team, and we only got stronger through it, so thank you.
I know that this was a huge undertaking, so I just wanted to commend you for doing that, and the teachers who agreed to pilot the various programs as well. It's a lot of extra time and energy to learn something new and then to implement that with students who have their own expectations or preconceived notions about what math should be for them. So I just wanted to thank everyone who really took the extra step to do that. And then just something that stuck out, two things that stuck out about why you liked the program that are meaningful. One, I love the multidisciplinary approach to mathematics, because I think you can say to a child, you're going to have to use, you better like math because you're going to have to use it in everything that you do as an adult. I mean, I don't remember how many times that was said to me. And I still did not like math. So anything that can start the multidisciplinary approach early with every single concept, I think is a great thing. And then this connection to art, especially in the early years, I remember seeing, I don't know, something on Discovery Health, something on TV one point, and it went into how art that's critically acclaimed, a lot of the reasons why it's so pleasing to the eye is because you can actually set up the spatial ratio of some of the images, and it has a deeper connection to mathematics that is then connected to the way our DNA is formed, and these molecules and these ratios kind of perpetuate themselves throughout every aspect of our lives. So to have this notion, I think that I was raised on, which is you're either an artist or you're an analytical mathematician, but you can't be both, is so silly. And I'm so happy to see that we've picked a program that seems to have at least an aspect of it where it celebrates how interconnected these areas of learning are. So I think that's fantastic, and I can't wait to see how it plays out in education in Ossining.
Oh, great presentation and such a great day. What an amazing day or evening of presentations. I kept thinking to myself, this couldn't come here fast enough. I remember as a parent several years ago coming here as we've ushered in the Common Core math and the modules and really disrupted in the worst possible way our education in math and English in the state, and what we did to students and how we were able to survive it and do our best. And the teachers, began to modify the modules and all of that. But you just knew that we had to take this on with all the other things we have to take on. So this is a tremendous effort. I am just over the moon happy that we're here, and the students and faculty and generations to come that will continue to benefit from this hard work. And the process was, as my colleague, Mr. Schnecker said, that was really great to hear and important to hear the process that everybody went through, and the strength of the teachers feeling part of the process and the students just bringing it in, just very excited. So thank you for your hard work. And my one question would be is, I know you've kept special education students in mind, but just curious of how some of the special education teachers and students piloting this program, how the results were and how they felt about it.
I'll speak from Envisions and say that was one of the biggest attributes of Envisions. We're describing it as everything for everybody, and we have a wide range of profiles of math learners at AMD, and this has embedded, basically like I've never seen before, embedded differentiation in every lesson and in every unit. It's very much a very prominent feature of the program, which made it most attractive to us.
I would say that both programs have an abundance of resources for differentiation for all of our children. When you pilot, you don't get to unpack that as much as you want, but people saw the potential for that, and we know, looking closely at the resources, we have things at our fingertips that we didn't have before.
We were fortunate enough to have a few of our ICT classes pilot some of these math programs, and with all of them, because they were all phenomenal programs, there were lots of ways to scaffold instruction for students. But I think what we really saw is the fun that these programs, especially Math in Focus, brought, especially to elementary school students. There were hands-on experiences, there were games, there was time for students to kind of see that concrete, that pictorial, bring it to the abstract. Children definitely enjoyed math more in all classes, but if you're specifically asking about our special ed students, I think that it was a very good fit.
And thank you for reminding me of that. We made sure we had special education teachers in the pilots and do language teachers in the pilots for that feedback.
I think one of the things that Math in Focus does really well, it does a few problems very deeply. And that was a shift for our teachers because they're like, oh, it's not enough. It's not enough. But it is enough. It gives children a chance to enter into the problem multiple ways. And I think our special educational learners will bring their own thinking into those problem solving and having the time to do it.
Great.
We also made sure that we had departmentalized teachers from life skills, inclusion teachers as part of the process. They were all, in each grade level, they were all participating in the process, and we definitely, that was one of our focus. And also, we had, the perspective from the English language learners and special ed teachers. They all, we had at least one representative from each, group.
That's great. Thank you.
When I got on the board, I was told Ms. Bonner, who's now Ms. Shamsi, was the math guru, so if it's good for her, it's good for me.
Well said, Bill, well said.
That's a great comment. One thing I will say is that when, in my experience, when I was younger, I was always afraid of math. And when I got to college was when I had a professor who just broke it wide open. And so excited about math, I was just like, okay, there's something wrong here. But broke it down, and all of a sudden I was like, what was I so afraid of, right? And this is what I got out of your presentation. And I think that's what the children will get out of it too. Why am I so intimidated by math? And to anybody who's watching out there, this is how a math program is implemented. With people like that who go through everything, scrub through everything. That's how it's done. This is how it's done. It's not just thrown on people. It's done. It takes 2 years or more. It takes what it takes to make sure that our kids get the programs and that we have the programs here, not just for the children, for the teachers, for the staff, for everyone. And these programs really do seem like the best ones. I know you scrubbed so many of them. A lot of hard work, 2 years or more probably went into this. And that is how, you really do go through it and figure out what program is the best. So I really do appreciate all of the time and effort that went into this, because that's a lot of work. And I really do appreciate it, so thank you. So before I open it up to the audience, do you want to comment? You first.
Yeah, you can open up to comment.
Okay, so what I'll do is open up to the audience. We've had a couple of presentations, so I want to make sure that we give the audience an opportunity to ask some questions, comments on this or the other presentations that we had. So you can come up to the mic here or here. Just state your name and your question or comment.
Great job.
We have a big crowd here. Martin, you should span the whole. No intimidation, but we certainly want to be sure that we have input, so.
Good evening, Beata Mioni, and I have a question regarding the BGCNR in Assening program.
The Boys and Girls Club?
Yeah, I have 3 questions, so maybe I just go one at a time. The first one that I have, there is a mentioning about potential scholarship fund development, and I would like to know, is that fund going to be developed or established directly by the Boys and Girls Club, or is it going to be established by our district?
I think it's through the Boys and Girls Club.
Okay. So there will be no additional cost that district is going to occur?
No.
By establishing the fund. Thank you. And then second question, are we expecting additional expenses by running this program 3 to 6? Because the school will be open. I mean, I don't know, the additional staff that has to be hired and present in our schools.
We're giving them the space, and then we also talked about some form of rent also associated with to
So
cover some of the
kind of
overcut.
income.
There will be some income
Okay, so
coming,
that's
or
great.
revenue to make sure we're not looking to quote-unquote make money, but at least just cover our
Cover
costs.
our
Yep.
cost. Yeah, that was our, my concern because given our, current financial situation we're in. And the last question about busing. I'm not sure because my children do not take bus, so I don't mean to sound arrogant asking this question, but do we allow now for multiple stops for our students, or they are limited to one home, quote-unquote, stop? Because if we allow, that I'm just looking into the part-time 3 days or less per
Right.
week program, if we allow, this 50, 75 students to choose and pick what days, that is, in my opinion, a lot of additional resources that are going to be needed, provided by the schools to arrange for those children to get on the right bus the right day.
Yeah, so we talked a little bit, I think that referenced the question that was, it relates to the question that was noted before. We're going to talk to our transportation director related to that. We don't foresee any additional costs related to transportation or busing, but logistically, there would be some things that would need to be worked out
Yeah.
for the number of students. And the other part of it too is we, until we start going out to the community and asking families, we really don't know what that really looks like. So we can be talking about 2 or 3 students, or we can be talking about 75 students that could be seeking sort of this differentiated schedule. So, but we'll go back. I think we're just gonna, we don't foresee any issues, but it's a great question. We didn't necessarily ask that question prior to this
It's not
presentation.
more of a, it's not, my concern is not about additional cost.
Yep.
It's just if we allow some students now to be bused to, let's say, Claremont, the remaining, 4,800, plus students, do they have the same option of now choosing, where to go?
Right.
On a weekly, monthly, whenever they feel like they want to go for play day, and now today or tomorrow I want to go to, Joey's house, and tomorrow I want to go to Teresa's house. So I just wanted to make sure that it's, how this is going to be addressed.
That's fair. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
I mean, these are answers to questions the transportation department will come up with. I mean, the district in the past has had,
Has
I
had
think
it.
the fixed schedule of different days has been there. I think the ad hoc, I want to take a bus home tomorrow to this house, I think that's never really been on the plate. But if your kid is going 3 days a week to one location, 2 days a week to another location, that's been in the past. Obviously, there's no commitment to where that's in the future with this, but that all depends on the work the transportation department has to do.
Yep.
And I think if it makes you feel any better, just to know, to Mr. Schnecker's point, this district did have kind of split busing, if you will. I can remember when my kids were very little. A couple of days a week, they went to the babysitter, and a couple of days a week, they came to my home stop, but those were consistent, like consistent days, and the district used to do that. So, it's nothing that we're unfamiliar with. It's just kind of revisiting what it looks like. So it's not something that anyone here hasn't done before, if that makes you feel a little better.
It's just stopped, right? I mean, it's just paused.
Yep.
Hi, my name is Erica Keneally. I just have a question about the Envisions math. I will have an 8th grader next year who has vision issues, and I'm wondering if there is an opportunity to have enlarged print materials for him. I happen to know the Envisions program pretty well. I'm a little concerned about the glossy pages, like you said, the amount of space that is there for computing their work. He happened to be somebody who had the opportunity of piloting that program, had a hard time with it. Print was very small, and the area that you had to work out your problem was very, very small. It is also highly distracting visually, and like I said, the glossy pages was a difficult thing for him. I'm not sure how we are going to be dealing with kids with vision issues with that program.
So we certainly. No problem. So we certainly appreciate the question and deeply grateful for you to raise this and bring it to our attention. I'm not actually sure the answer about enlarged print, but it's certainly something that we'll look at and we'll ask. Maybe, Ellie, are you aware in particular?
Since everything is digital,
Everything is digital, so we can definitely modify it and make sure, the teachers are aware with either the kid has a 504 and everything, that it is enlarged to the level that the child will need it.
Right. So it is easy, because what she means by that is like, it's because it's a PDF, it's much easier than just doing a straight copy enlargement and all that.
So
but-
because it's PDF, can I assume that it will be able to be printed on regular 8.5 by 11 instead of the 11 by 17 that fits in no binder, no folder, and no backpack?
Yes.
I'm struggling with that currently because his pages are all over the place because there's really no way to keep him organized. So that is a big concern if the whole math program is.
Sure. So again, we really appreciate this level of detail, and we're going to go to whatever lengths that we need to be able to fit the modifications that are there. In terms of the glossy pieces, that's certainly something that we can address as well. And because it comes in these multimedia formats, I think it's easier for us to do that and address these questions, as it has been for us in the past, where we might have already been dealing with photocopied materials that have been previously photocopied, et cetera, et cetera. So having these originals empowers us to be to even more adequately meet the needs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anything further? No?
All right, so I just want to conclude, excuse me, and thank you for the questions, because I want to make sure we hear various perspectives, whether it's Boys and Girls Club or the math program or anything else that we discussed. But I do want to conclude, and we didn't really have like a final to the math, and just sincere thank you to the math squad, right? Was it a whole bunch of, yeah. For all their work. It's been a 2-year process, but I can attest to the debate, the back and forth around what's the right decision for Ossining, and in a similar vein of everything that's done here, it's real sense of what's taking place on behalf of our kids. So I want to sincerely thank everyone for that, our administrators that helped to support at the building level, our teachers that helped to be part of the pilot or had input in a variety of ways. Everyone was engaged in it, so my sincere thanks. And mark your calendars, March 15th. This is when it took place, when math changed in Ossining moving forward, and we're really, really excited that, and I'd be remiss too. And while there were many members that were part of the team and everyone played an important role, I want to just thank Carrie Ann for her efforts in organizing everyone together and putting this, sort of moving this process along. So thank you to everyone, and thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
So let's press the button and order it so that, yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Oh, that was a green light, by the way, in case, yeah.
Too late now.
Wow, what a night last night.
Oh, yeah.
What a night last night. Night a lot.
Do you want the chocolate chip?
Started to look like that, right?
Okay.
Now they have to pull that when you shake anything.
Where? Oh, that's a good hoop. I was going to get those for you.
Help with the life.
I was sincerely going to say enough's enough with the sunglasses. Of course they are. That's where most things are.
Never used since. That should tell you something.
I know. That's where all the stuff always turns up.
But let me just share that with kids, you should have more than one pair. Or be Parker. But, yeah, I'll just give a quick update.
It was a good night. We had a lot of really good stuff tonight. It was a great night.
I see it.
I looked at the agenda.
If it's majorly important.
I want to bring closure to it, but it can be done at the next
Because if it's something that's going to be like 20 minutes, no problem. It's fine.
I don't know when we get in there.
Yeah.
So it's okay.
All right, cool. Okay.
That is a robust
So many different aspects of it. It was great.
All right, I'm ready. I'm ready for the budget.
All right, so the last piece is just a discussion around the budget. Ms. Rudley, and I just quoted, said, "There's been some amazing presentations here tonight." This is not one of them.
We always clear the room when we talk about the budget,
So
right?
my point being is we don't have a PowerPoint, and we just want to share just a
It's all
few.
math.
There is some math here, except we'd like to share
Another kind of math.
our
we
form
want.
of math with others. So just a quick update to this point. We're still in the sort of the wait and see aspect of the budget, which is where we kind of left off more, but at this time, just sort of in the gestalt of what's happening in the state. We've seen both the Assembly and the Senate come out with their one-house budgets. We have a sense of what the one-house budget is related to the Assembly. It's a little more specific. They're looking to raise the floor for districts to receive approximately 53% of foundation aid. That's their focus right now. The Senate, we're trying to dissect and trying to get an understanding of what it really means. We've gone through, Alita and I went through some various iterations. Actually, Alita, I should say, went through and tried to make some understanding. And just for everyone's, for clarity on this, reading the bills is like reading Shakespeare for some of us. It's like a, it's a very, yeah. So it's really not an easy task. And so we don't want to do that more specifically. We think others should just kind of do it for us and just kind of let us know what it really means. So we've been in conversations with our legislators to just say, you know, can you work with the finance department and just give us a sense of what that looks like? So we're still in a wait and see. I mean, my phone in front of me, just waiting for that text to say this is what it looks like. So we're waiting, and then in turn, obviously, it becomes two men and a woman in a room now, trying to finalize for April 1st. We do not think that 53% floor, in my opinion, is enough to address the needs of our district. Nor do I think it really speaks to equity in the lens of state funding and needs of school districts. So happy to be on record related to that. And then the Senate, we're just waiting to see, so it's hard to respond to that. We will likely formally respond to whatever decision is made once we know, whether it's in support of what the Senate is proposing or not supporting either one of them, and what it means particularly for the harm suburban 5 districts. So wait and see. There's been ongoing communication and meetings with in Albany. Last week was a number of meetings, and was it Monday? Monday was another set of meetings as well. So point being, I think we're all putting our efforts to try to make sure that we speak to the needs here in Ossining, and want to thank again, as always, our community, our board, and everyone for actively being engaged in the advocacy efforts. Like, I think we're just getting better at it. It's not something I think we want to get better at,
No.
but we are getting, I think there's a real, some real community effort in support of our schools, so it's humbling to see all the outreach and the communication that people are giving of their own time to support our schools, so and our community, I would say, and our children. So that's really our update. There's not much more to that, other than we're just trying to figure out what the Senate proposal means for us. We've heard there might be tiers, but we don't know what it really means just yet to address our needs.
Waiting with bated breath.
I think the only thing I'll add to that, because I think it's a great summary, is just we've heard from some of our senators that they think they have spoken to every mom and dad in Ossining. So keep up those phone calls. They make a difference. They hear it, and just keep making the phone calls. There's a lot that's done in this last 2 weeks. Even when they have the one-house bills, I can tell you there's stuff that'll be done in the middle of the night that night. So if there's ever, it's not a time to let up off the gas pedal, it's a time to accelerate.
So our hope in in piggybacking on what Mr. Snecker just said is that we can give specific details to our community as to what to share with our legislators. So once we know specifically what our concerns are, that we share that with our community so that they in turn can share that if they choose to legislators.
Right, and just one thing directly with the Assembly is the 53% doesn't cover the budget deficit that we've got.
No.
So that's just a very clear message. You don't need to wait for further details. The Assembly proposal doesn't cover the deficit.
Now, the Assembly proposal, and I tried to read through it today, but math as an adult, I mean, it's extremely difficult to figure out what it actually means. But I did not see anything that seemed to specifically address the likes of the Harm Suburban 5. And that was extremely disappointing, especially after we have attended meetings with folks in the Assembly and have collaborated on how to address this issue. It's just extremely disappointing and frustrating. And to the extent that the community feels like they need to express that frustration, if they share it with me, they are certainly free to do so, because I was very disappointed to see that. And I know historically the Assembly can propose to raise the floor by a certain percentage, but the reality is the end result is not that percentage. And so that is what concerns me.
Yeah, where all the final negotiation goes, who knows? And there's certainly more synergy between the Senate and the Assembly than in previous years. But now's the time to, if you don't, the squeaky wheels get the oil,
Yep.
and we should be squeaky wheels.
Yep.
And we've been squeaky for about 6 years, and, you know, to Dr. Sanchez's point, it's like we're becoming professional advocates here. We tell this story year in, year out. It's frustrating, because we want to have some final, you know, some closure to it, right? What are we doing here? We're the harmed, and we've done nothing to be harmed. So I would say just let's keep advocating to those out there on, you know, watching this at home, or even rewatching the video, or, you know, it's keep going, you know, keep talking to people, your legislators, because there's a lot to do here. We talked about the math program, but this is where math scares me. When the math ends up like this really scares me. So it's not sustainable, and it needs to be resolved this year. So. Any further?
There's not many times where a presenter comes up and a board member says, "I haven't seen you since the last time we advocated going up on a small bus to Albany."
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, just put that in perspective of
Yep.
like that's the last time I saw you. You know, and it just
Which
speaks to
wasn't
how
that long
long,
ago, right?
which speaks to how long we've been really
Yeah.
approaching this and addressing it, and how our community's been involved. So just put some perspective.
Yeah. Okay. Any further comments? Okay, so we can then move into our special meeting. I will take a motion for 5-1 through 5-5.
So moved.
Second.
5-1 is a resolution setting the dates of the annual budget statutory hearing and annual district budget vote and Board of Education election. 5-2 is a resolution to appoint Phoenix Graphics, Inc. as the district's ballot printer. 5-3 is a resolution to approve Eastside Movers, Inc. as the moving company for transporting the electronic scan voting machines. 5-4 is a resolution calling for notice and the annual budget hearing and annual district election. 5-5 is a resolution regarding per diem substitute compensation for American Sign Language ASL teacher. And just to, for those, just to kind of get the dates out there for the resolution for setting the dates, the annual budget statutory hearing of the Ossining Union Free School District will be held in the Ossining High School Library here at 29 South Highland Avenue on Tuesday, May 14, 2019. The annual district budget vote and election of the Ossining Union Free School District will be held on Tuesday, May 21st, 2019, in the Half Gymnasium here at Ossining High School, 29 South Highland Avenue, and the voting will take place on that day from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? I will take a motion for 6-1 through 6-10.
Second.
6-1 is a resolution to approve the treasurer's report for January 2019. 6-2 is a resolution to approve the budget and revenue report for January 2019. 6-3 is a resolution regarding an increase in the budget for the OHS trip for the science research competition. 6-4 is a resolution regarding an increase in the budget for Send a Kid to Camp. 6-5 is a resolution regarding acceptance of a donation of golf balls from Mr. Kevin Connolly. 6-6 is a resolution to accept an agreement with DASNY. 6-7 is a resolution regarding a request for a textbook approval. 6-8 is a resolution regarding donation of funds from Dr. Raymond Sanchez for My Brother's Keeper program. 6-9 is a resolution regarding acceptance of a grant from Westchester Community Foundation for Parent Leadership Program. 6-10 is a resolution regarding interfund transfers. Any further discussion? The board would like to thank Mr. Kevin Conley for the gift of the golf balls, which is valued at $630, and to Dr. Sanchez for the $1,000 donation for My Brother's Keeper, and also to the Westchester Community Foundation for their $30,000 grant for the Parent Leadership Program. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you, Dr. Sanchez. Thank you. I will take a motion for, let's do 7-2 and 7-3. And then we have to.
So moved.
Second.
7-2 is a resolution regarding civil service staff resignation, and 7-3 is a resolution regarding a bus attendant resignation. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? None. And I will take now a motion for 7-5 to 7-11.
So moved.
Second.
7-5 is a resolution regarding professional staff appointment. 7-6 is a resolution regarding support staff request for a leave of absence. 7-7 is a resolution regarding a civil service staff appointment. 7-8 is a resolution regarding professional staff appointments for before and after school programs. 7-9 is a resolution regarding approval of school volunteers. 7-10 is a resolution regarding support staff resignation. 7-11 is a resolution regarding support staff appointments. And the board, we would like to thank all the school volunteers. We have many non-parent volunteers who are volunteering their time throughout the district, some of our student teachers at the various schools throughout the district, and also some of our non-parent residents in our sports, particularly baseball and track, and also our help with reading at Brookside School. So thank you very much for your volunteer time. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? And I will take these were out of order, so I will take a motion for 7-13.
So moved.
Second.
7-13 is a resolution regarding support staff request for leave of absence. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? And at this time, I'd just like to get updated on any information that the board has to share regarding anything that you've attended, any board or committee meetings that have taken place since the last board meeting that you would like to update us on.
Monday night, there was a facilities committee meeting that went through. We'd spoken, I think, at the all-day budget meeting about the plan, three-year plan, 5-year plan for the facilities. And so we've been working with the architects to help further refine that plan. I think it's still very much fluid and fungible at this point. There was some discussion also about the capital line and the work for this year. And that basically we'll be waiting for recommendations from the administration as to how to proceed. But there was some back and forth about some of the different items that were on the list.
Yeah, there were. And so just to also keep in mind, too, it's very important to point out that working with the architects, and we've worked with a few of them over the years, so sometimes I feel like we're almost having to hit the restart button on some of these things. So the work of the facilities committee is greatly appreciated because there's a lot of time that goes into that. You're looking at a lot of different things. We have 6 buildings here, and we have a lot of needs. So I've been on that committee myself. There are a lot of things to look at. And it's not just the buildings inside the buildings, it's everything outside the buildings and on the grounds as well. So thank you for all of the time that you spend in those committee meetings, because it's a lot to look after. So any further discussion or updates? Any comments on trips to Albany? I know we've already talked about those, but any other?
You'll probably get in your email voter voice from the Lower Hudson Education Coalition to basically sign off on a letter that's similar to the themes that we've talked about. Obviously, it's not Ossining specific, but look for it, and if you are so inclined, now's the time to sign off on that. It would be good to get some numbers through LEGC.
Okay. And the only other thing I just want to put out there too is that the National School Boards Association conference this year is in Philadelphia. At this point, Lisa Rudley and I, Lisa, are going to be attending. But certainly if someone else on the board feels compelled to want to go this year, I'm happy to give you my spot if you want to. It is the last weekend of March, which I think is the 29th, 30th, and 31st.
I'll be joining you guys.
And Ray, Dr.
Ray will be in
Sanchez will
attendance.
also be there.
Yes. So it'll be a happy trip. I will say that I did attend this conference last year in San Antonio, and I'm happy to attend again this year in Philadelphia. One of the things I did come back with from last year is there is so many sessions. So one of the things I came back this year with was if we do attend these, I would say, attend it in doubles, because you just can't be in all those places at once. And there's so much to do that I found myself coming, okay, I'll split this one in half and that one in half, and just gathering all this information to bring it back to the board. And I think having, 2 people going is going to be hopefully more efficient. We'll get a lot of information.
And I think it'll be interesting to see how all the different states are managing ESSA and the new regulations that came down from the federal government, or law, and now regulations on how every state and all the boards are managing that. So that'll be really good information we could bring back or be frustrated about, but it'll be important information to learn.
Yes, absolutely. Lots of information there.
And many other things happening across the country.
Yeah.
What's the latest we can let you know?
We're already booked, so it's just a change of name, Ely. Because we booked early. I threw my name out there just to get it, so we could get the early bird specials. So if you want to attend in my place, just let me know. Mr. Murray will be very happy to not have to be at home the entire weekend with 3 children. So, but it is a good conference, lots to learn. So.
Just briefly, earlier tonight, I attended a great presentation by the Westchester Children's Association regarding the Raise the Age legislation that seeks to keep youth and young adults out of the criminal justice system through other alternatives. One of the things that was mentioned there was, it seems like the legislation was passed, there's funding attached to it, and they're still kind of figuring out how to use those funds. But some of it would be preventative, aimed more so at the mid to upper teen age groups. And it's a one-to-one reimbursement on those things, so it probably would be a good idea for us to reach out to the Westchester Children's Association. I think we've spoken to them on different fronts on a lot of things, but it just sounds like it's a time that would be good to touch base there.
Westchester Children's Association.
Yeah,
Right?
and I can send an email off.
Thank you.
It was moderated by Gary Stern of the Journal News. He did a fantastic job. it was a packed room, standing room only.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And, a lot of great work, but clearly still very much in process. And so it might not be a bad idea and the whole idea is, part of the idea is how do you prevent, and how do you, the things we've talked about here, the young adult's mind isn't fully developed at 26 years old. So how do you basically give people the opportunity to make mistakes and work their way back? And so just was very interesting, but the funding attached to it seems to be pretty robust.
Good. Thank you for that. Any further updates?
Just in the effort of pride, and earlier today there was a little ribbon cutting from here in Ossining High School. The OHS Marketplace is our partnership between Feeding Westchester and the district. The board signed off on an agreement not so long ago, but I want to thank Ms. Garone and back and forth with them on the contract and the team here at the high school for lifting that. So there was if you go on Twitter, many of us are on it. You can see Ms. Puello, if not, I'll send it to you. Just she captured Mr. Hancock's speech and a little ribbon cutting, but it'll provide clearly some food and other things that, essentials that some students and families might need, that they can get it right here, right in the main lobby of Ossining High School. So we're
Great
excited.
idea.
We're probably one of the few districts that are doing that right now.
Fantastic.
Well, they must have heard you in Albany because I think they're trying to put the same plan in all the SUNY campuses from what I'm hearing. So if they haven't got there. So
they heard
once
something.
again, I guess your tweets are being read and maybe sparking thoughts elsewhere.
Thanks, Sarah. And when do we meet next, Ely? March 27th, okay. So our next board meeting will be March 27th, same bat time, same bat channel. Anything else? Okay. I'll take a motion. No exec.
Do you have any more audience?
We did it.
Okay.
That's in body language.
I'll take a motion then to adjourn.
So moved.